national development. What I'm hearing is, yes, I mean, I concur. The way to combat these things is through democracy. But in addition to the extensive presidential powers that Tanzania has constitutionally, the regime has also been very strategic in passing legislation that enshrine what it does in the rule of law. The Statistics Act, the Media Services Act, Cybercrimes Act, and most recently the amendments to the Political Parties Act. So what I would ask you, in this environment, it will be very difficult to mount an effective campaign for the 2020 elections for any member of the opposition, and there have been abandonments from the opposition parties back to the ruling party. So I would ask you what you see in this environment as the way that you can, or the way that one might mount a successful campaign.
Thank you very much. We have never had it easy throughout these 27 years of multi-party rule. We have never had it easy at all. Every democratic gain that was made during that period was fought for, and it was paid for very dearly. The situation has become very difficult, absolutely. The legal regime that is emerging during these Tanzania, Magufuli's Tanzania, is horrifying. But what the law proposes, the people will dispose of. It is never easy anywhere. Democracy has never built easily anywhere. Not in the United States, not anywhere in the world, and certainly not in Tanzania. So we'll have to do our bit. We'll have to do our bit to deal with the current difficulties. As I said at the beginning of my remarks, President Magufuli is, in my view, a godsend. It is not just the political opposition that has paid dearly. Magufuli is a Roman Catholic, and he will go down in history, in our history, as a Catholic president who managed to antagonize the Catholic Church in Tanzania. Now, the Catholic Church is the most powerful institution in the country outside the state. Last year, the Tanzania Episcopal Conference wrote a pastoral letter, which basically, what I have said during this half hour, basically the bishops, the Catholic bishops, said it in a very polite, clerical voice. But you have a situation where the church, not just the Catholic Church, the Protestant churches, the evangelicals have expressed themselves very strongly about the way the president has managed our affairs during this period, these 3 years. President Magufuli has attacked the business community with unprecedented violence. And we're not talking of the local business community. That's what Sokoine did in the 80s. He's attacked the local business community. He's basically destroyed 20 years of hard work of President Mkapa and Kikwete in creating an atmosphere that is conducive for foreign direct investment. You will have heard of Acacia, this mining company, which was slapped with a tax bill of $194 billion, not billion shillings, $194 billion, which I described as professorial rubbish, and I was arrested for it. He's antagonized the international community, our president doesn't travel. His witch doctor must have told him, don't go anywhere near those airplanes. So he doesn't travel. He doesn't go to international meetings or conferences. He's antagonized government employees. He's antagonized everybody. Today, even parliamentarians, CCM parliamentarians, you don't travel outside the country if you don't get permission from the president's office. The speaker said the other day that I have not been, the parliament has not footed the bill for my medical treatment because the president did not approve. So I got shot 16 times, attending parliamentary sessions, whisked out of the country unconscious. I was in coma for 7 days, and I've been in hospital since, and Parliament has not paid a penny because the president has not approved the release of the money for my treatment. Now, it goes for every member of Parliament, for every judge, for every civil servant. You don't travel if you don't have the president's permission. We are told not a single payment of more than 10 million shillings. 10 million shillings is about $4,000. Now, no payment in the government system of more than $10 million is mad.
10 million shillings.
10 million shillings, yes, 10 million shillings, without the president's approval. And then you have all these multi-million-dollar acquisitions of aircraft, which no one knows how they've been acquired, no one knows the contracts. The president is building a 5-kilometer-long runway, an airport in his home village. And when I say he reminds me of Mobutu Sese Seko, people get offended. But that's precisely what Mobutu Sese Seko did in his home village in the middle of the forest. So seriously, we are in for it. Now, the question was, how do we get going against him? Given all this, I think there are objective conditions. Objective conditions exist for mobilization against him on a scale that has never been seen in our politics. It will be difficult. As I said, it's never easy, but I'm totally optimistic. I'm totally optimistic that once we get going, I think, and if we get our act right, because we have to get our act right, if we get our act right, then 2020, a short 1 year away, may witness miracles in the history of Tanzania. And that's why I said it's 3 years of blood, toil, and tears, but these are also 3 years of hope. We have survived. We have survived thus far. The cloud is absolutely black. It's really dark. But if you look closely, there are silver linings all over.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm Leonard. I'm a student here in the Masters in International Policy and Practice, and I'm a national from Cameroon. So your story is really compelling, and it's quite a lot similar to the politics back home in my country. But I think in my country it's even worse than what you're presenting. Over the past, since 1985, Tanzania has had 4 heads of states. And each of them has served like 10 years, if I'm not wrong, compared to my country where we have 1 head of state since 1982 till date. So I'm just wondering, the current situation in Tanzania, how sustainable do you think it's going to be? Like all what President Magufuli is trying to do, trying to convert democracy back to autocracy and all of that, do you really think it's going to be sustainable given that Tanzania is firm on democratic terms, presidential terms?
I think we have not been tested before. The truth is, yes, we have had Magufuli is our 5th president, And it's only Nyerere who didn't have a term limit. We always, when I was young, we used to sing about Kamuzu Banda, the life president, and no one ever said that, by the way, does our constitution provide term limit for Mwalimu Nyerere? Well, Mwalimu Nyerere was the only one who didn't have term limit. After he left, we introduced presidential term limits. And thus far, they have held. Whether the term limits will survive Magufuli is a moot question. Because now there is subterranean debate going on in the corridors of power and within CCM about doing away with the two-term limits to presidency. Magufuli himself has publicly come out against the idea, but to what extent can we take his word, given that he's totally erratic? I will not make comparisons, but it's totally erratic. His word changes according to how he wakes up that